Well, hey there, folks. It's Justin from CartoonSmart.com, and we're gonna do a little technical illustrating today. We'll pick on I can't remember whose lightsaber this was. Was it Luke's? Maybe. Well, anyway, if you want to trace right along with me, I would say, hey, you could actually just screen capture the a frame from this video. Pretty sure to find this, I just looked up lightsaber on white background. You should be able to find it. Yeah, so this is just a little exercise here. Nothing more than that. Obviously, we're using Adobe Animate, so let's get right down to it. Actually, if you're kind of curious how this could end up, this is what my kind of practice version for this. Okay, so something, and that's all vector art, right? So I don't know if that impresses you. Cool. Keep right along with this. One last little thing. This is not a shameless plug. If you have never used Adobe Animate before, you might find this course to be a little too fast. In which case, go over here, grab a free account at CartoonSmart.com. Go over here, get over 8 hours of tutorials for free. As you can find, we've got an intro Adobe Animate course, and I'll step you through, all the basics. But otherwise, hey, you know what? If you don't feel like it, just jump right in with me. All right, so what we're going to do here is just kind of do a little wireframe of the sort of main components that we're seeing here. I think if I did the whole thing, it's going to waste a lot of your time. So let's just work on about this half of it. All right. So I'm going to grab just the circle over here. Really, all I care about is the stroke, not the fill on the inside of it. So I'm going to just kind of mute that. That just turns it off right there. And I'm going to grab the magnifying glass and kind of just pressing down, zoom in a bit here, just to get a closer look at it. All right. So essentially, this is a little bit of a tracing project, just starting off. It won't be for long, so don't worry. So just drawing the circle over here, right on top of the source image. I guess I didn't mention this, but to bring this in, you can just drag it off your desktop. I just locked it so I don't accidentally fool with it. And then to make a layer on top of it, you just press that little layer icon. That's stuff that would have been taken care of in the prerequisites course. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to double click on the circle, right? So you can see I just move it around. I'm holding down the shift key and the directional arrows on my MacBook Pro. You can see I can move it a little bit quicker than if I just didn't hold down the shift key. See how slow that goes. But what I'm mainly going to do is I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to go and paste it in place again. If you guys have watched some of my other videos, you know that I love me some paste in place. So I'm just moving that around. As I move it further to the right over here, the little perspective on this kind of the circular angle over here is going to get a bit compressed. So might as well do that right there. Just make that a little bit thinner. And I pressed down the Q key to get these little handles up here. See that? All right, that's what makes it go up and down or compress it like that. The further we go to the right, the more or less kind of angled this is. And you can see, obviously, this is going to be the same height as this one over here. So another great use of copy and paste in place. Start to learn the hotkey for paste in place. It's just your regular paste hotkey, but holding down the shift key. Okay, so you can see now I'm just taking it a little further out to here. Again, I'm going to use the free transform tool on this. So I'm going to press down on Q, get to know that hotkey as well. So again, just making that a little bit thinner. Okay. Kind of move it right over that. And then let's do the same thing again. Paste in place. I don't think we need to compress that one too much. And then let's do this one more time. By the time we get to about over here, you can see that it's almost just a straight line across. I think what we could probably do is just get away with using like that half of it. But like I said, this is probably getting into where we're not going to be seeing anyway. I don't want to do all that. Okay, so now that we've got these our little circles out there, let's go. And I kind of forgot one of them. I guess I should go and do this one too. And actually, this is kind of a good example because that'll intersect that part right there. And we're going to clean all this up in just a moment. In fact, I'm going to take a step back, compress that just a little bit, squeeze it in. There we go. Okay, so go over here to your line tool and click on snap. And what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of snap these together. That way we can fill them in with a, well, eventually be a gradient color, but we'll start off with some solids. So just draw anywhere for right now, and then go switch over here to your black arrow key, and with snap turned on, we can snap right to the top of this. What you kind of want to avoid is that you don't make it right to the top, okay? You want to be right there at the top of that, okay? And again, if you're pulled out a little bit like that, you might not make it right there to the top. So gotta get zoomed in. And if you ever want to zoom out, you can always hit the command 1, 2, 3. These all kind of zoom you different places. You'll see what they're doing over here. And you can see I'm just not even trying to snap it when I initially draw it. Just draw it out there in the space. Okay, so let's do this again. And you can see there I almost didn't make it to the very tippy top of that thing. So again, let's try to abide by my own rules here. Zoom in. There we go. Right, get it right to the top. And we only got to do this a couple more times. Let's see. Close that in. Close that in. And it is really important that they snap together. Otherwise, when you start to fill things in a little bit, it might not work. There's a remedy for that, but okay. Let's now get rid of some of the stuff we don't need. So just selecting right here, selecting that. Let's see. That one. We keeping that one. You know. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. If we keep that one, it certainly shouldn't be that angled. It should maybe. Here's a little trick for you. I'm just gonna move it off to the side a little bit so it's a little bit easier to see. I'm gonna hold down Option, okay, and then hit the right arrow, and that's just gonna flip that horizontally. And then I'm just going to bring it right back over here again. And then that should hopefully connect up to the top there, and we can just fill that in. Okay, and then let's get rid of that. And, all right, now this might seem like a lot of work, but the rest of this is actually not that bad. We're going to kind of just freestyle it a little bit. So just, and where should we start with this? Actually, you know what? Grab this one right here, and then just copy, paste in place, hold down the shift key, move your directional arrows around, and let's do the same thing over here. Okay. And again, hopefully this snapped up to the top. You can tell if it did based on whether or not you kind of go over here with your black arrow, and if it kind of moves everything around, that means they are connected. Okay, so if you want to, ever want to test those. All right, now let's grab just the line tool again. We'll kind of start over here. Again, this seems like a really boring tracing job, but, you know, kind of pay off in the end, I hope. Let me move that out to there. And one of the nice things about Adobe Animate or Flash, if you don't have that version, is, you know, when you do make these intersections here, they just kind of subdivide into parts, right? So if you got something hanging off like that, that's actually okay. And come down this way. See, this isn't even perfect, but it's okay. It doesn't have to be too perfect. Although I say that, then I go and I try become a perfectionist. Okay, let's start over here. Go up to the top. Go over that way. And, you know, we could probably get away with just duplicating this shape. So I'm going to hold down Shift and just select each one of these lines. We'll see what happens. I was just moving it to see what was actually selected. It's a little hard to tell. I'm going to copy, paste it in place, move it down here. Oh, see, I forgot one thing. And then I'm going to hold down the Option key and press the up arrow on the keyboard. And that does look like it would fit in nicely there. This is almost a little too perfect that this one line comes right down here. So I'm going to actually just cheat this a little bit and move it down some, just so it's popping off a bit. And when I do that, I'll delete out that little part right there. Connect those up. And then we got this last little bit hanging down at the bottom. And then other than this one little bit right over here on the side, see this guy? I think we're pretty much done with tracing things over. So again, just grabbing circle tool, I'm just going to run it off to the edge. Hitting Q again for the free transform tool. Let's see. Yeah, it's close enough. Okay. So now let's go and take everything that we just did. Let's move it up. Okay. Zoom in a bit. And let's do this. Let's see if we can fill in everything. Okay, so something didn't exactly work perfect there because you see how that made it from here over to there. And probably all we have to do is just, yep, there it goes. Snap it, right? And again, you can tell it didn't snap together because I was able to move it separate. And sorry, I didn't explicitly say this, but we are using the paint bucket tool. And so far, so good in terms of filling this in. Okay, that'll work. We don't really have to keep it filled in with that color. Looks a little bit cooler, I guess. Yeah, let's go. Let's sample some of what's down here, and we'll kind of use that as a base, I guess. So grab the eyedropper tool. Hotkey on this is I. I always forget that. I don't know why I forget that, but there we go. I'll try to remember it today. So again, yeah, I'm going to keep, anytime you do sample something, it switches you right back to the paint bucket tool, which is actually kind of nice. So I'm just going to, sample again parts of the image here. Let's make this one a little bit lighter. And obviously our light source is kind of above this thing, which is accounting for that being darker. So try to keep to that. I'd probably say this is a good one to make darker too. Even though sampling it didn't really come up with the darkest color. All right, and then yeah, let's go ahead and start to work with some of the gradients. So let's grab the paint bucket tool. We're gonna go over here to color, and if you are not seeing that, be sure it's open. The window color is open, and we're gonna switch this down to linear gradient, and it'll look something like this initially, just black to white. And if you start filling in here and you don't see a strong black, you don't see a full white, that means that the gradient is probably getting applied over a greater range than you really want. So you can hit the F key, and that's going to switch you over here to the gradient transform tool. For some wacky reason, this shares some real estate with the free transform tool, so it's kind of hidden in here. And you can see this little white dot that showed up here. Let me pull back a little bit. Let's see if I can show you. All right, so for whatever reason, the handle for controlling this showed up all the way over there. Okay, so now we can bring this together and start to move this around. And you can see now, how it's kind of applying itself. We want to rotate this, obviously. Okay, maybe it's not obvious to you, but we do. And easiest thing to do is just to make sure that this kind of spreads itself over exactly the top, just basically a square comprising the shape itself, right? So, not this, but this. Okay, so that full black is right down there at the bottom. Full white is up there at the top. Okay, and then what you want to do is you want to be sure that you have this selected. And then what we'll do is we'll start sampling more colors for this gradient. So I just pulled back out so I can just see a little bit of both of these images over here. Again, this is still selected. That's going to be key. And then I'm just going to hold down on, there we go, or double click on that little swatch right there. And then I'm just going to go out and sample that bottom color. And then let's do the same thing over here at the top. right? And now, of course, we're not seeing much of a gradient, but we know that this is the top, this one's going to be the bottom, and we can start putting swatches in between here. So we kind of just got to guess at this a little bit, but we can move them around. So I just clicked right there, right? So, and that made a new one. And you can see that about applied it correctly. I could move it down a little bit, right? And then I want, this color right here in the middle. So let's just go about right to the middle. Double click, grab kind of the darkest color right there. And then shortly after this, it's almost like a little 80s airbrush style effect. You see on logos and stuff where it quickly goes back into a lighter color. So we want basically just another swatch a little bit closer to that one. And there we go. Let's see how nice that looks. And then somewhere in the middle here, we'll lighten back up again. Right. And if you want, there is that little line that's kind of across there. We could do that too. And of course, if you want to kind of trap in some of these colors where they're at, like if you like what's going on, I guess like right about here, make another swatch and then you can put another one in the middle. It does start to get, it's not the easiest thing to go back and, well, it's not the hardest thing either to go back and change it. I guess, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, because you can just slide these around. If you do want to get rid of one, you can just pull it off. All right, so there's none there. Oh, here, I'll do it with this one. I'll put a new one here and then just pull it down, right? That'll get rid of it. Okay, so looking at it, this is about right. And nice thing is now you can actually sample this gradient. So you can see it'll put that down there. Like, let's suppose I had a darker color. So I'm going to go back and sample that. It'll put that swatch in there. You can even go and save swatches. So you can go over here to swatches and why am I not seeing it? Actually, it might be. Where did they put that again? They moved it around on me. Oh, it's somewhere. And I feel like I did just see it a second ago. Oh, add to swatches. Duh. Okay. So then, yeah, it's down there at the bottom. All right, that was fun. So let's go. I'm just going to fill this in now on this one over here. Now you notice that, I guess they're about even with each other. There's a little bit of this bumps up a bit over here, and obviously it's a little bit clearer over here. Whereas what we're seeing here is it's just this straight line across. And you'll notice that, by filling in this other swatch, by filling in the other gradient on that fill shape, it kind of united them together. And if you hit F to get back to your free transform, you'll really see that happening. Because you move one over here and it moves the other one. You can break that connectivity. What you need to do is go over here to lock fill, take that off, and then just reapply it again. It's a little annoying. It might be, who knows? Maybe there's a better way of doing that. But and then you just have to reset the gradient transform, so you can see, you can kind of move it around. But these ones seem pretty close to each other. Oh, well, see, there's a problem. I had locked. Now I want it back, basically. And I'm not going to get it back. Here we go. Let's sample it. Now it's got lock fill on. We'll see. Okay, so it did, sure enough, it did it there. And actually, you know what? Let's sample this one, and then we'll go fill this one in over here. Okay. So that's about right. Right. Maybe it could be a little darker. And if you did want to adjust it, you'll notice that these two shapes, let's say we want to make this one line a little bit darker. Just shift select these so you got them both selected, and then again go over here. You can click that. Well, this basically brings up what's over here, but if you want to take the brightness down on something, just the B, that's what that is. So you can see, make that a little darker there. Okay, it is probably about time to get rid of these blue lines. So they're probably all connected, and you can double click on them, and we can get rid of them like that. So just selecting them and just hitting the delete key on the keyboard. That'll work. You might see some stuff like this that we forgot to fill in. So let's go ahead and do that now. And how did we mess that up? It looks like we had the same color, didn't we? Okay, well, here we go. Let's just grab another line. So let's go back over to here. Okay. And, well, it gives us a chance to sample things again. Practice with that tool. Okay, all right, so we got that. And there's no blue lines in life. Just like there's no, if we'd started with a gray line, there's no real gray lines in life, you know. What I want to do now is go ahead and select every one of these kind of different areas here and make them each into their own symbol. And a lot of what we're going to do next is working with filters. And well, let me look at the time. 20 minutes. Wow, we've talked a lot. Okay, let's do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit F8 on each of these, and this will be kind of a cliffhanger. We'll come back and we'll start, you know, making this look a lot more like this one. But we basically have our basic shape here. So again, you know, you can do this the slowest way possible, which would be over here to convert to symbol, or you could hit F. It says F9. It's the default is actually F8. My fingers sometimes mash the F9 key, and I just decided I'm going to put in two hotkeys for doing the same thing. So it should be F8, but for me, it works to do both of them. You don't really have to give this a name. It would be kind of crazy to name each one of these, because after a while, you're going to forget and just start giving them dog names or something like that. Rufus, you know. But just go ahead and anything that's, you know, one continuous fill, go ahead and do that with. And yeah, and then we'll come back in a part 2 to finish this up.